Welcome back, Dog Nation. Georgia looks to shake off a disappointing loss to the Alabama Crimson Tide by putting a whooping, hopefully, on what is usually a tough Kentucky team. I'm Keegan, my co-host is Chito, and this is another episode of Dogs Off the Leash.
Yeah, and no disrespect to Kentucky, but this week really feels like Dog Nation, Dog fans, this team is still kind of licking its wounds a little bit. And, we're trying to turn the page. We're trying to focus on us. It's easy to forget that a loss to Alabama is not the end of the season, right? We still have all of our goals ahead of us, which include 11-1 season and 10-2. So right now it's about focusing on Kentucky and starting to get ready to stack up those SEC wins, because we've got 3 in a row before our next bye, I believe. And it's just time to lock in.
It's interesting when you look through the diaspora of why Georgia fans were disappointed. It was actually like many, many reasons. So what are you looking to see for a bounce back to help you feel a little bit better about this Georgia team?
For me personally, if you want to go offense and defense, on the defensive side, I just think this team and this staff need to learn how to not put themselves in a hole early. We saw it happen against Tennessee. We got lucky and came back. We saw it against Alabama, didn't get so lucky. Our coaching staff is really good at making adjustments, but that really works better if you don't, start from way behind to begin with. So I'd like to see some better stuff from the front on the defensive side. And then offensively, I want to see Chauncey Bowens as RB1. He has shown the vision, the explosiveness, the ball security, and I think he's earned that. And then the conversation that's now turning into a bit of a national conversation is what's happening with Noah Thomas's usage or the lack thereof. I had some friends that I was watching the Bama game with, and this guy who's really into UJ football was trying to convince me that Noah Thomas sucks. And I just don't understand it, because the tape that I saw from Texas A&M, he looks like a layman's Mike Evans, right? He's tall. He's fast. You can use him with back shoulder fades, 50-50 ball. You can use him in the screen game, which our offensive coordinator loves to do. So if you're telling me he sucks now, then why did we use the resources to bring him in? Or did he suck then? And it's just, I really don't understand it. So Kirby gave an answer, and I'm really not really convinced with what he said about it's about winning. I think a player like that is conducive to winning. So I want to see him start to get usage. I think it only makes sense. So that's what I'm looking for on the offensive side.
Yeah, and if we've gone a little bit tight end heavy, and that's why we haven't had the second or third down wide receiver.
But are our tight ends getting volume too in the passing game? I don't think we threw it to the tight ends once against Alabama, which is another concern. So that's not really a great explanation either.
Well, it's not a great explanation from that angle, but we had them in a lot for the running game, and we did run the ball successfully, so it's not there.
Fair point.
Having the tight ends in is a good thing in terms of having them in for run blocking, and, of course, we do need to throw it to them more, but even still, the reason that's successful is because we're overloading the defense. Well, just another way of overloading the defense, all we're saying is having a ton of pass catchers on the field, There's multiple ways to have the defense guessing, but, that's another way we can do that, because we have so many pass catchers, so many like speedy type of dudes where there's going to create mismatches. We can play big bully ball. We've proven that too. And then we need to be able to do the QB run also. But all this to me has the underlying theme of playing more aggressive, period. Like, we are conceding first halves for like the last year, and we just can't do that to be a successful team. And I think like it's good to have a script coming into a game, but if you are just going to die by the script and be like, oh, we'll get them in the second half, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and speaking on aggression, I think you can be aggressive in any of the 4 quarters if you want to. You don't have to wait until your hands are tied behind your back or that you're in a bind or it's 3rd and 20 to be aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, and again, people are going to hate it, but this is what Todd Monken was really good at. he's not waiting for the score to get close or any of this. He'll send a tight end, a running back, screaming down the center of the field, taking shots all day long, which puts the defense on its heels. I expect Kentucky to take the brunt of Georgia's anger after the Alabama loss and the practice that those players had this week. Some of the things that I saw, the Kentucky's defense is not the Kentucky defense of recent years. They are 102nd, giving up almost 400 yards of offense per game. And with this running game that we have right now, hopefully being led by Chauncey Bowens, I think we're still doing we just put up 227 on Alabama, so I expect this to be another tight end heavy day, maybe less Noah Thomas from that aspect like you mentioned, but I want to bash Kentucky's head in, and I think that starts now. Start getting a little bit creative, getting ready for Auburn, because that road game is really going to be tough. I don't know a whole lot about this Kentucky team this year, admittedly. But again, I'm not really thinking about Kentucky the way we normally would. I'm thinking about this team rebounding and showing me their character. That's the one thing that we may get to see coming off an Alabama loss is who is this team? Are they going to fight? Yes, we're young. We have a lot of growth. Ernest Green's going to be out on the right side of the line. So who comes in? Is it Gaston? Is Glover going to be in there? Do we see Bo Hewley? We have to figure out some sort of rotation on the right side. And they played well against Alabama for the most part outside of the 4th and 1, but we're going to need them. That's just the fact. So can we shore up some of those things? If Nate Frazier plays, I got to see ball security, man. As a running back coach, you got to act like your job is on the line. We have a lot of running backs. If he can't protect the ball, he needs to stay running in practice. You know what I mean? Working on that security. So those are some of the things that I'm looking for going into the Kentucky game at this point.
Yeah, and I think Kentucky might be one of the best running teams in the SEC right now. They're 1-2 punch, super strong. So that's a real test. And like I said, while maybe the exterior of the team is probably in the C range, not as good as we're used to across the board, the meat of this team in the trenches, B+, A- level guys. So they deserve our respect, and if they do what they've done every game, and then finally the rest of Kentucky decides to be consistent, they'll definitely test Georgia. But if Georgia can just show up, then we have plenty of a talent advantage where this can be a 2-3 touchdown game. It's just we're going to need to really show up. So, and I think a lot of the falling behind in the first half has to get down to the scripted plays. Like maybe we have too many scripted plays. That's just my little fan theory right now, that if it's happening every time, that means that coaches have an advantage every time they play Georgia coming into the first half. That can't be. If that's the reality, we have a bigger problem. You know what I mean? Like
it's conservative play call. I don't know why, as a fan base, we love to dance around the realities that are staring us in the face. We have a conservative offensive coordinator, and maybe that's due in part to Kirby making him be so, but like 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to guess at least the play call, the formation, and like what's coming. There's really not a whole lot of element of surprise, and it hasn't had to be in past years. We've been so dominant, we can do whatever we want to. But I think creativity is still something to be desired. So I don't know. We'll see. But like you said, it's been a trend, and it's been a worrisome trend, because we're not going to come back and win these games like we have in the past.
Yeah, if our machine days are kind of over, then we're going to need a little bit more mojo, mojo over machine, like whatever it's going to take. Honestly, if we need a blackout, a gray out, whatever we need, something. But with that, I like Georgia to bounce back. I think it's a good time for a score prediction. I think Georgia wins comfortably by 10 points. Give me the Dogs on top 33-23 against a Kentucky team that runs all over Athens, but we end up stopping them when it counts because they're good on the ground.
Yeah, I agree. And your score prediction is really close to mine. I went with, again, I'm going to give Kentucky a little bit of credit because they play us really well. So I'm going to say that we score 3 touchdowns. So give me 21 points there. And I think this is going to be a day that you lean on a field goal kicker. You take all the points. You kick it when you're in range. If you struggle in the red zone, add 12 to that. I'm going Dawgs 33 over Kentucky scoring 20.
Yeah, what's the point of us having like elite kickers if we're not going to kick field goals in certain situations?
I don't want to. I don't want to rehash it or relitigate it, but I'm telling you, it's sometimes sometimes football is very simple. You know what I mean? You don't got to overthink it, but we got to live with it and we got to keep moving. And again, right before we start our pick six and everything, the mindset of Georgia fans right now has to be, we're going on a run these next 3 games, and we're starting with getting bowl eligible, right? Go into the bye 6-1, and I think Florida's on the other side of that bye. So again, Kentucky this week at Auburn, and the number 4 Ole Miss at home. Hopefully they can keep where they're at position in the AP poll, and we can put another a resume builder on to our resume. So that's the goal kind of going in.
Yeah, no laying an egg. Let's all show up. All of us. With that, pick 6. Chito, we got to start with the state of Florida. Number 3, Miami. At number 18, Florida State. Who do you like in that one?
Okay, so no dog in the fight here, but Miami has been, I really thought that USF was going to have an opportunity to knock them off with that front 4, that front 7, getting to Carson Beck and really causing problems. But that offensive line and Cristobal has held up, protected Carson Beck so he can make plays. And Miami's defense is doing enough to make their offensive potency worth it week to week. And I think that's going to carry them a long way, especially when you have Clemson kind of down right now in the ACC race. Give me Miami on the road. I think probably their biggest road test so far. I may be mistaken about that, but I'm going to go Miami here.
Yeah, dude, I think Miami's the real deal. I don't know where they would be in the SEC right now, but in the ACC, they're looking like the strong number 1 team. So, yeah, give me Miami by a couple of touchdowns on the road. And with that, a big SEC showdown. Number 16, Vanderbilt, looking to win back-to-back years against the Crimson Tide. Chito, can they do it?
So let me start this prediction by saying that I'm very bitter and I'm very salty with Alabama right now. But to put an analysis on this, I think Vanderbilt is going to do a lot more of what we didn't do with Gunnar Stockton, what Florida State did to Alabama. Diego Pavia and that team, they believe that they are good enough to beat Alabama. Plus the confidence of already beating them, it's going to be tougher in Tuscaloosa. But I think that Alabama can be exposed. I wish that we would have done it, and I'm going 2 upsets this week, and I think the first one I'm going with is Vandy over Alabama, but mind you, I'm a little bit bitter. I'm a little bit salty. So, go Commodores. Anchor down.
Dude, I think with Diego Pavia, he can will his way to have this team be competitive to the last whistle. I like it. So I'm calling a full-on push with Alabama taking the edge at the...
Okay, hold on. Because you've been doing this and it's been irking me. Pick a team. No more pushes. No more none of that. Pick a side. This is pick 6. Go Vandy or go Bama. And then you can add the detail, but it will be close. But you got to make a stand. Choose you this day.
Well, I'm choosing Bama, so...
Okay, thank you.
I'll go with that, but I do think Diego Pavia is that guy. They did one last year. This is where I could easily be wrong. Like, I don't have a lot of confidence in my pick. I just feel like Bama more than likely won't lose twice to Vanderbilt, but this Vandy team is dangerous, and like you said, we should have done a ton more running against Bama. Like, the way Vanderbilt can hold the ball and control the game is really what was key last year. So if they do that again, it's going to be hard for Bama, no matter playing at home or on the road. And ask any Bama fan who looked at the pictures of the stands. It was mostly a home game in Nashville. So, the crowd was on their side. It wasn't a hostile crowd. So Vanderbilt's already did it with a stadium full of Bama fans, to be frank. So, oh man, I don't even like my pick, dog. I want to go Vandy.
Hey, you gotta pick, man. I don't care which way you go, but no more of this push business.
I'm going.
Okay. And listen, it's not wild. It's not wild. I'm telling you, Vandy they're different right now. They're different right now. The portal has changed this sport completely. Teams like Georgia are not as advantaged as they used to be. Teams like Vandy can change overnight. And Diego Pavia, this is it for him. This is the last ride for him, and he's going to try to get this done.
Yeah, and he's a product of them changing the junior college rule, because he's on his extra read all about it year. So really, he should have had his Stetson Bennett year last year, but he gets an extra year because of the new JUCO rules. So he's like truly probably one of the last old, or one of the last, or one of the first super old quarterbacks, and he's got a ton of game reps, and he's confident as hell for good.
I'll go ahead and put out the other SEC upset that I have, and this one's not going to be popular, but I just think this team has all the tools. They're going to be at home against one of the SEC sexy teams in Texas, who's ranked number 9. If Florida doesn't throw 5 interceptions, if their quarterback, Lagway, can just have a decent day, this team is going to knock somebody off. And I'm telling you, this is an NFL atmosphere in college right now. It is week to week. You better bring it. Everyone's going to be saying Texas this, Texas that. You're going to go down into the swamp, and you're going to get upset if you're not on top of it. I'm probably having a little bit too much faith in Florida, but I think this is an upset alert, and sometimes you got to roll the dice. Give me the Gators. Give me the Gators coming out of the swamp with a W against Texas. And then it's going to start this chaos in the SEC about who's going to have 1 loss, 2 loss, or 3 losses as we get towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think Texas wins, but I mean, Florida, hostile place, and I don't know. Yeah, Texas does look soft, and Arch Manning hasn't really played anybody yet, so everything you said makes sense to me. I'm still going to roll with Texas, but damn. If they do go down. And not to mention that, Florida has been good for an upset or two, even in these kind of tough seasons. Like, they don't have bad teams entirely. They just haven't put it all together. So,
and even looking at the stat sheet, I'm telling you, you don't throw 5 picks against LSU or whoever, you got a chance in that game. Dude, it's several plays. They're going to get it together one of these times. So, is this one of them? I don't know. And the sneaky pick in the SEC as well, moving on to the next game, Mississippi State, who barely lost to Tennessee in overtime, the same way Tennessee lost to us in overtime, more or less, will travel to Texas A&M to take on the Aggies. I just want to give Mississippi State credit here. I don't think that they're going to come away with this win, but they are a team people need to look out for. I think Texas A&M is just a really well put together team, well coached, a lot of talent. I'm going to go with the Aggies here, but you better watch out for them other Bulldogs over there across the Mississippi. You better be careful.
Do I hear a push?
Nope. But it will be a sneaky, fun game to watch. I really believe that.
Almost like a sneaky push.
I'm going to refrain from that terminology because it feels like a cop-out. I'll pick it aside, but I want to acknowledge.
Like you're pushing, dog. I don't know.
I want to acknowledge Mississippi State balling. That's.
Oh, acknowledge. Okay, I got you. If I need a push, I'll just acknowledge. Throw Roman Reigns on them. But hey, speaking of acknowledging, here's a team that is sneakily creeping their way into the playoff picture. And that would be a team that, my family's got some ties to, but number 20 Michigan, they had that 1 loss to Oklahoma, but I think they're actually a serious contender. And they're hosting a solid Wisconsin team that is looking to bounce back after getting smacked against Bama. Not much controversy in this pick, but I like Michigan to continue to win and continue to kind of creep their way up into the playoff picture, because while there's a handful of teams in the Big Ten that could do it, why not Michigan? Like, I think they're going to be right there towards the end with the way their season kind of looks. And they got a young quarterback in.
Yeah, it's Underwood.
Yeah.
And he's going to be the reason that I pick any games for Michigan this year, because he is going to be that good. I didn't pick them. No disrespect for your family. I still feel like Michigan deserves the death penalty for what they did. I went with Texas Tech over Houston. So we got an all-Texas affair. Texas Tech is number 11, so that was my sixth game. So I'll go with you on Michigan, and then I'm going to go Texas Tech for my sixth game. And then in some other news around sports, most of you have heard by now, our Braves fan, that Brian Snitker has been relieved of his managerial duties. But, all due respect to Snit, they are going to transition him into an advisory role for the organization. And this wasn't a great season. Braves finished 10 games under 500, but had a win against Pittsburgh in their last game. But Snitker was the manager for 9 years, came away with 6 division titles for the Braves, and then, of course, that World Series in 2021, which coincided with the Dawgs National Championship in 2021 for the Atlanta Braves franchise 4th World Series title. So you are a legend automatically, Snit, for what you've done. So the search will begin for a new manager, and I think it just kind of needed some new blood in the Braves program. So I think this was an appropriate time instead of wearing out your welcome. So I was happy to see that. Keegan, any thoughts on Snitker and the move that the Braves made?
Well, he's definitely an all-time Brave. He gave his pretty much the majority of his career to the Braves organization. And, anytime you win a championship and have all the success that he's had. But yeah, the Braves need to go in a new direction. And I think it's probably a good time to do so, because he's just an older man. And if you're looking at the new direction of the franchise in a 4 to 5 year period, where does that fit into his personal life? It would have been better had he, finished on top. The Braves were looking to have a much better season. I'm kind of a fair weather distant fan, but I know they were looking to have a much better season this year. So it would have been way cooler if Snitker could have finished on the mountaintop. But, shout out to a guy who brought the Braves a championship, and they don't come often here in Atlanta. So you'll always be, I don't know what's the equivalent, a BAB. Well, I know a DGD is the Georgia Johnny Goodfellow. Is there a Brave version of this?
Couldn't tell you. I'd have to ask some of my diehard Braves fans. I'm not sure about that.
Good Brave.
He's a champion and he's a legend. That is for sure. Now, a DGD who has been in the news recently would be Sam Pittman, who was fired from Arkansas. And I know a lot of fans of this team would love to see Sam Pittman come back to coach his offensive line. I would as well. But Sorrells has done a decent job with what he's been given. I will say I'm not there with him yet, but we've seen it in the past, and we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. But a nice little backup piece of Sam Pittman is available. And then last but not least, we've made it to week 5 of the fantasy football season. And Thursday night football will feature the Los Angeles Rams and Stetson Bennett hosting the San Francisco 49ers. So, Keegan, I don't know if you have anybody, but in one of my leagues, I have Devontae Adams. And then in another, I have the Rams defense, which has sneakily been really, really good this season. Keegan, any skin in the game for you on this Thursday night?
No, I don't.
Cool. Well, either way it goes, I hope you get a dub this week. I don't know how your fantasy team's doing right now, but dubs for everybody is the hope. And then Keegan, if you don't have anything else, we can wrap up, and hopefully we get this dub against Kentucky as well. Cats and Dogs.
Yeah, I'm currently 2-2, and Cam Scataboo has been holding it down for me here and there. So that was a sneaky good pick for me.
And Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart started for that team now in New York. Yeah, they benched Russell Wilson. So keep an eye out for New York. Maybe they can make a little magic. Who knows?
I like that. And, dude, something I did want to just talk about, quick last random topic is they have new kicking balls in the NFL, and a lot of people have been talking about how it is affecting the game. We've already seen some deeper than normal kicks, and like people are talking about this being like an asterisk year for kicking performances that we're looking to see, field goals in the 60-yard range rather. So with that, that's just an interesting wrinkle, kind of like when the MLB got new bats. If they change up the grip on a basketball, what have you. This is just an interesting thing that has going on this season, and who knows how it will play out. But, teams that have kickers that are elite are going to have even more of an advantage this season. So just something I was thinking about, like what is going on? And it's a whole rabbit hole.
And on that note, I don't know if you've noticed or saw it on social media, but Rodrigo Blankenship, Rex Specs, he is trying to get a job in the NFL. So he is recreating all the kicks that he sees week in and week out. Real scenario, real distance, real hash. And he's out there. So shout out to Rex Specs. He's out there, or Hot Rod, Rex Specs. Hot Rod, trying to get back in the league and showing teams what he can do. Hey, sometimes you just got to put yourself out there, if you got the ability. So hopefully he makes some waves. But Keegan, outside of that, we got a game to win this weekend, and it starts with one. We got to move on from Bama. We got to keep pushing. Dog Nation, make sure that you touch base with us, tap in with us wherever you get your podcast, whether that be Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And as always, guys, you know what it is.
Off the leash.
Off the leash.